Okay, hi again. Last little episode, I told you about this gig that we did in Birmingham where nobody turned up and we got massive publicity out of it. I'm going to sort of move on from that just a little bit now. We were asked by a local guy called Mike Hambley, who went on to run the Robin R&B club. Again, as I said before about JB's, I mean the Robin has become very stalwart of the music scene in the Midlands. And Mike used to run a pub. He put the music on a Thursday night at a pub called the Woodhays in Wolverhampton, and he used to give us the odd gig there with his Guilty Party band. But one of the regular guys that used to turn up was Noddy Holder, because Noddy was a friend of Mike's, and Noddy lived in Wolverhampton at the time, as he had done for a long time with Slade and everything like that. But he used to turn up at the gigs, and Mike would play there with his band Sub-Zero. There were other bands on. I mean, one of the most notable ones really was a band called the Redbeards from Texas. And if you ever get a chance to have a look at them, they were one of the original tribute bands actually, because they did the best takeoff, I suppose, really, tribute to ZZ Top. They were funny guys. They were fantastic musicians. So have a look out for the Redbeards from Texas. Just dig them out on YouTube. They were damn good. Anyway, Noddy was always around, and he came to see our band the one night. And Mike was putting together a compilation album for various local bands that we all got a track on there. Anyway, Noddy was producing some of these bands, and he happened to produce a song for us for Guilty Party, and I can't remember now whether we even got on the album or whatever. I mean, possibly not or anything, because at the time I'd never played on a record, and I thought, oh yeah, it's a good chance to get on an album. But out of that, I became really good pals with Noddy, because we used to. Slade had a meeting place, a pub called the Trumpet in Bilston near Wolverhampton, and Noddy was always in there. Every Sunday morning, because it's a jazz venue essentially. But they and to this day they put music on 7 nights a week and on a Sunday lunchtime. Well, we'd go in there on a Sunday lunchtime and there'd be Noddy and lots of our pals. And to be honest with you, it was so full that you had to hold your beer like this, because you couldn't put it down, because there was just nowhere for it to go. It was just absolutely rammed in there. But we got, blimey, I used to go, I ended up going in there too many nights a week, drinking too much beer, and we had a lot of fun. And we would go from the Trumpet up to, we'd have a bit of a lock-in at the Trumpet, then they'd chuck us out. We'd go off up to another hotel in Wolverhampton, and we'd spend up until about, 7 o'clock in there, whatever, 8 o'clock, and then we'd end up back down the Trumpet on a Sunday night for another session. So it wasn't fantastic for the liver at the end of the day, but we were kicking around with Noddy, and he was great fun. He was a great guy. We actually did. This is this probably in these series of things are going to be a bit of name dropping, but hopefully that's what makes it a little bit interesting. But we were doing, there was a charity show at Wolverhampton Grand Theatre, and Noddy was the compere, And essentially they'd got bands, like some local bands and what have you, but people like Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath was playing. I think a local band called Zukyu, who I happened to end up playing with some of their guys out of that in later times, and actually who became part of the F1 band that were put together. But it was one of the most surreal things, really, because Noddy was coming on and introducing the bands, and at the end we all came on the stage and there was everybody, and Tony Iommi there, he's playing and we're playing All Right Now, and it's like the end of Live Aid, there's loads of musicians on the stage and that, and I'm stood singing backing vocals with probably one of the best singers that this country's ever produced, with Noddy Holder, and we're singing All Right Now, and we were probably all in some kind of a state, and after that we ended up in some club or another later than that, and then probably reconvened at the Trumpet the next day or something, but that's how it went on. But ultimately the band was starting to, it's tough when you're trying to do something with a band, and it's not really making it. So I've had lots of instances in my life where I've thought, okay, this isn't working, let's knock it on the head. In this meantime, and because the other thing was as well, I sort of ran like a little contract cleaning business, and then we were making odd little money out of gigs and that. But there was a friend of mine and my ex-wife, we'd been good friends for ages. Well, Tony had been and was the assistant team manager for the Goodyear F1 team, who were based in Wolverhampton, because all the tyres came, all the F1 tyres and all the servicing and everything came out of Wolverhampton. And he'd said to me 2 or 3 times in the past, would I be interested in a job in F1? And to be honest with you, no, I wasn't. I was more interested in my music. I was more interested in, I'd got my kids and what have you, and I'd got to make a living, but I wasn't really bothered with F1. But times had got a little bit tough, and I needed to earn a few quid, so Tony phoned me up and he said, look, do you want to come down to Goodyear? He said, all the race team have gone off to Montreal for the Grand Prix over there. He said, but all the containers of the tyres, because all the F1 tyres were made in Akron in the US, and they came over in containers and basically put into the warehouse. And he said, do you want to come over and a bit of cash in hand, really, just empty the containers, put them in the warehouse, everything like that. And I said, yeah, okay, all right, I'll do that. So I turned up at Goodyear. As I say, there was only 2 or 3 of us, because all the lads were over in Montreal. And about a week later, I'd done my 3 or 4 days or whatever. But a week later, they came back. And I met all the race lads and what have you, and the next race was going to be at the French Grand Prix. I'd not really considered whether I wanted to do any motor racing or anything like that, but they sent me on a test to Silverstone, and we got down there in the minibus, and this was, it was a tyre test for the British Grand Prix, which was held between the Canadian and the French Grand Prix. So I get there, and the first thing that I saw at this garage was open, and they were warming up Ayrton Senna's car, which was the Lotus Renault at the time, and it was quite a surreal thing, really, because I'd never been anywhere near a racing car in the past. the rest of my life and what have you. But suddenly, I was there and I was fitting tyres for Goodyear for all these F1 cars. And that's where it started.